Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Workday chats today. I am going to be the host of your discussion. I'm Ashley Goldsmith with Workday. And if you have any questions throughout, please just share them in the comments below. I am absolutely thrilled to be joined today by one of my very favorite people, Ellyn. She is the Chief Leadership and Human Resource Officer at Accenture, which I should note is one of Workday's very valuable partners. Hi, Ellyn. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ashley. I'm so delighted to be here.
You know, as technology continues to transform the workplace, we know that the skills organizations need to really thrive. Those are rapidly evolving. And needless to say, HR leaders can play a critical role in helping our organizations understand their changing needs and developing the strategies that we need to skill, upskill, reskill our teams to be successful moving forward. So Ellyn and I, we're going to talk about some of the top strategies that leaders can use to develop that workforce that is ready to meet these challenges of today and, importantly, tomorrow. Now, Ellyn, before we dive in, I'm going to start with a personal question, and we're talking about skills. So one skill is to get your memory to go way back in time, but I want to talk about your first job. And are there any skills that you learned there that have stayed with you and you think about and leverage today?
Absolutely. No doubt. Okay. So my first job in New York State, if you were under 16, you had to get a work permit to work. And I got a work permit. And on Sunday morning, I worked at Rite Aid drugstore. And I would walk there because my job was to collate the New York Times before the store opened. And so I had to be there very, very early in the morning. So my parents had me walk there. And I learned a few skills that I think are super important. And I'm going to say these skills because they're not technology skills. There was no or little to no technology at that time, but they were human skills that I carry with me today. First is dependability. Like I had to show up, else people would not have the New York Times on Sunday. And the second thing is just like thinking about who are the people that are going to be buying these New York Times and how much they counted on them being fully collated so they didn't miss the book review or they didn't miss the, magazine section. And I think about that today, Ashley, when I create employee experiences here at Accenture, like never was it about me. It was always about the people who are buying the newspaper. And that's how I think about employee experiences. And those are skills I carry with me today.
I love that. I love that story. Mine takes me back to, I was working in a Home Depot store, and I think I had a similar takeaway at a Home Depot store and learned so much. Most importantly, I learned customer service is everything. And the people in the stores, the employees who are there, who are providing that service, who are helping somebody with something, your toilet's broken and it's leaking, the people who help with that, those are the ones who are really at the center and heart of your business. And so for the rest of us, figuring out how to make those jobs easy so that they can do what they do best, that's something I think about all the time. So I like that we both have an important piece around experience and creating great experiences.
I'm not surprised. We have a similarity there.
I like it. So we were both in service from the get-go. Shifting to your current job, Accenture has certainly become a big-time leader in this movement towards skills-driven people strategies. Would love to just have you share more. What does this mean for your Accenture business? What does it mean for your people at your organization?
Okay, well, let me first start with our talent strategy because our talent strategy has just 3 pillars: how we access talent, how we create talent, and how we unlock potential of our people. And that focus has really enabled us to deliver what we call 360-degree value. So for our clients, for our people, for our partners like Workday, certainly for our shareholders and for our communities. And we've been able to deliver great 360-degree value really by taking that talent strategy and really looking at it almost exclusively through the lens of skills. So for example, accessing talent is really a core competency of ours. Most years we're hiring about 100,000 people a year. And having that skills focus allows us to really translate what we're doing into action. And I'll just give you a little story on how we're doing that. We have what we call at Accenture a digital core. So we run our whole enterprise in a digital manner, and we built an enterprise-wide control tower that allows many of us, many leaders at Accenture, to see into stage 0 of our sales pipeline through a skills lens and translate that into what skills we need, how many we need, where we need them, and what time frame we need them in, so that we can really, at a very granular level, predict, do we need to reskill people, like you were saying? Do we need to hire people? Will people be coming available from other jobs? And it allows us, in an organization that has over 700,000 people, to really do this through a very granular and proactive lens. And that is like the amazing benefit of being skills-based. You can do that at scale, but on a very granular level.
I love that. Did you say you call it a control tower?
An enterprise-wide control tower, yeah.
I like it. That's that's a great way of thinking about it. You got to manage all of those skills a lot like planes moving in and out. That's the cool way to look at it. I like that.
And I will say, not just because we're having this conversation and it's a Workday conversation, but Workday really is at the core. And, the Skills Cloud, which our teams have co-created together, really is the engine that enables us to do that. And so I think it's really important when companies are thinking about skills that they really understand why they want to move to be a skills-based organization, and understand what that really means to them. Because a lot of companies are talking about it, but the why is super important.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think this is a piece of why. There's been a lot of good research, and it shows that adopting a skills-based approach can help foster a more diverse, a more inclusive workplace. Would love to hear your experience with that.
Yep. And we've had a great experience with it because inclusion and diversity is really central to our business strategy for a few reasons. One, diverse workforces are much more innovative, and innovation is central to our ability to serve our clients. And diverse people want to work for diverse companies. And so in order to have an attractive talent brand, we need to be diverse. And how we've done that is we've redefined what potential is. Okay. Historically, it was very clear to us that we had to go to, top schools and hire for pedigree. But we redefined potential to be skills plus learning agility. So how well someone can learn. Aspiration, do people want to learn new things? And we say that equals potential. And that to us is an equation that says potential is greater than pedigree or degrees. And what that really allows us to do is expand how we access talent. Like I said, the first pillar of our talent strategy, we really could look at many new sources from where we were just 6 or 7 short years ago. And it allows us to move to be creators of talent, not just consumers of talent, and access much more diverse sources of talent than we ever had in the past. And what that does for our people is it creates pathways for individuals, and it helps us ensure we have the right skills at the right time for our clients. And it's really, I think, a true movement that really is changing the whole dynamic of the labor market. And I'm super proud of it. And I think just one example, Ashley, is our apprenticeship programs. And I'll use a US example since that's where I sit. Through the use of skills, we've been able to, really build our apprenticeship program. So that's a program where you can earn while you learn. And 20% of our entry-level hires came through our apprenticeship program last year, and more than 20%. And that really is a difference maker when you're looking at diverse sources of talent.
I love that. I love that you're focused on something like an apprenticeship program. If our company who hires as large as yours to be doing 20%, that's a real accomplishment. And completely agree with you that a skills first approach definitely opens up really different talent pools. We've seen that at Workday. We have something called opportunity on ramps, and it's a global talent and acquisition initiative, and it prioritizes skills over 4-year degrees, just like you said. And we have seen great outcomes from that of opening up the vast talent out there that's waiting to be discovered. But it does require a shift in perspective from talent acquisition, from hiring managers. In the company, you just have to think about it differently.
Yeah, skills have to be everywhere. That's why I say you really have to think first why you're doing that. But can I just tell you one human story about this apprenticeship program? So the woman's name is Kara, and she just completed a 12-month apprenticeship program here in cloud computing here in North America. She happens to be a single mother, and she really was looking for a way to have a career that she could really see career advancement opportunities. Well, fast forward through her apprenticeship program, and today she's a robotic process automation developer. And really, what makes me so proud and happy for her is that she's in the beginning stages of buying her first home. And when you take this pedigree thing out of the equation, the richness of the talent that you can bring into your organization just is a game changer. And without understanding talent through the skills lens, it's much harder to do that.
I love that. I love that story. I love the personal stories of hearing how someone is thriving because of opportunity. That's great. Thanks for sharing that about Kara. You, Ellyn, recently published some really exciting research. It was about how CHROs are uniquely positioned to drive growth and new levels of collaboration across the entire C-suite. We'd love to hear how a skills focus is accelerating that. And then if you could also talk about the role of AI here, what should HR leaders be doing to prepare for that shift?
Yeah, and I co-authored that with one of my colleagues, Yusuf Tayob, who runs our Accenture operations business. And that's important because, one, I'm a customer of his, and two, he serves a lot of large organizations and other CHROs. And we were really seeing some kind of changes in the landscape. But this, look at really understanding what AI is doing is super important. And the first thing is really understanding the impact of AI, not just on work, but also on people. Because according to some research, other research that we've done here at Accenture, generative AI will impact 40% of people's working hours. And that doesn't mean that 40% of jobs will be eliminated. But in any given time, some tasks in jobs will go away. Some will be assisted, and that frees up people to do interesting things. And then some will be unaffected by technology for sure, at least for the time being. But I think it's really important because this generative AI technology is, we believe, the biggest technology disruption in 40 years, right? Since computers became part of our work life. And it is critical for HR leaders to really develop a strong point of view on how to handle these impacts. And obviously, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone on this session already, that we take a skills-based approach to everything we do. And as our people automate their work, we train them to do new things because we can see the skills they have. We can see the skills that are going to be needed for the future, and they can be reskilled along skills adjacencies. And then the next thing is that every business is a digital business, and HR really needs to be side by side with the business, identifying those skills and roles needed to work with generative AI, and really chart the path to create that talent. So first and foremost, organizations really will need to create new roles. Some of the new roles that we're seeing are prompt engineers. If anyone's ever gone into Bard or to ChatGPT or any of the other models, you need to be able to ask like good questions, good prompts. So prompt engineers, explainability engineers, large language model architects. These are all new and emerging roles, but at the core are skills that exist in other roles today. So really identifying what those roles, and then understand what roles will substantially change. So for example, data scientists today, I'm sure it's the same at Workday, but the data scientists here spend a lot of time doing data prep. And a lot of that prep will go away. But they're well positioned to grow into new, and some of these new roles that I shared where data is at the very heart of the new roles. And so because these skills and these roles really aren't available in the market today, I think CHROs really need to kind of like switch the mindset from we're going to go out and hire these to how do we create the talent we need from the talent we have. And I think that starts, just making sure as a CHRO that all of the people that work in your organization have broad fluency around, in this case, generative AI. Next is figure out who in the organization really needs to have the deep skills and focus your investments on those people so that you get maximum ROI on the investments that you're making through that. And then preparing people to be reskilled, because what economists are estimating is that for every dollar spent on these new technologies, another $9 are going to need to be spent on the people to teach them how to work with these new technologies. And I think that really, Ashley, puts CHROs again at the center of the growth agenda in every single organization, in every industry, in every corner of the world. And I'll close with really being a steward of responsible AI, and that takes two forms. One, HR people are using lots of AI technologies today, and we need to be using it responsibly. And I always say to my team, I ask a very simple question, and that's just because we can, should we? And we lead into all of our uses of AI through that question, and then really just training the organization more broadly around the responsible use of these technologies.
Some great insights there, Ellyn. I think the piece around that we have to, as HR, as organizations, really think about how we get those skills into our workforce directly ourselves, I think is spot on. There is just no chance that these skills are going to be available for hire in the volume that all of us as organizations are going to need. And so I think you're absolutely right. We have to employ that skills mindset if we want to have those skills. And I think we have to have those skills. And I think, these technologies are going to be a force multiplier for us, right? They're going to help humans do what humans do better. And I think that's exciting, but we have to be ready for that. I also couldn't agree more about the responsible use of these technologies. Openness and transparency, I think, are really key. I have no doubt that Accenture has ethics principles around it. I know we do at Workday that help guide us in this space. As I talk to HR folks who look at technologies, I encourage people, figure out who your sort of board is that helps you figure out what technologies you are going to move forward with. Go ahead and establish it as, privacy, legal, who is going to be part of helping you look and consider what you take up in your organization, because it is something we all have to take a lot of ownership of in this new world.
Couldn't agree more.
Speaking of other CHROs, I'm sure you get asked this question all the time, which is, how do I get started on a skills first approach? I'm bought into the dream, but I don't know where to start with my organization. What advice do you give companies who ask you that?
I think it goes back to the vision first and foremost, because a lot of companies do want to like become a skills-based organization. You can see the benefits of doing so, but then they say, well, we're just going to start with talent acquisition or recruiting. We want to do skills in recruiting, but what happens once you hire for skills if you don't have a skills everywhere approach? And I've been on this journey for about 6 or 7 years, so I, maybe have a very different view than someone just starting out. But for me, if you can start with your vision on why you want to be a skills-based organization, you can then do what you need to do, which first and foremost, I believe, is to lay the foundation through having the right technologies. In order to be a skills-based organization, you have to have the data and the skills, and you need a technology that enables you to capture and use that. You then need to have what we called a skills taxonomy, which took us about 6 years to build, and now is supercharged because we don't have our own anymore. We use Workday Skills Cloud. And then we need the skills inference engine. Like, how do you automate all of that around skills? And I think if you follow those 3 steps, you can accelerate the pace of change and really use skills broadly, not just in recruiting or talent acquisition, but all the way through to development, work and workforce planning, career growth, compensation, and this whole concept of reskilling, new skilling, upskilling, and even outskilling. That is my recommendation when CHROs come to me and ask me, how do you even get started? It's just starting with the vision and going from there.
I think that is great advice. Yeah, if you don't know where you're going, you probably are going to end up taking a very winding path. And in this particular case, may have some stumbles you really want to avoid. So I think that's great advice. Ellyn, what do you think are the skills that are going to be most critical for organizations to really thrive in these years ahead?
I think that, I think about organizations who are, really have learning as part of their culture, and maybe that's not a skill, but I think organizations need to become learning organizations. They need to have people who have aspirations to learn, because every single job, as I said earlier, in every single industry, in every single corner of the world, is going to change and has been changing with technology. But this new disruptive technology, generative AI, is going to make the pace of change happen faster. And so organizations that value learning, advocate for their people to be learners, and provide them with the access to learning. And really, I strongly believe that only 10% of learning happens through training. Most of it happens either on the job or through other experiences. And to me, that's what's going to keep organizations and people relevant to the future, is just leaning into being learners.
I think that is absolutely great advice. Frankly, probably always great advice for all of us to have a lifelong learning approach, but to be really thoughtful about that as individuals and as organizations. I think that's sound advice we should all follow. All right, so we're going to wrap up with your final piece of advice. What do you want to leave our audience with today, Ellyn?
Well, I guess that's always a good question, but I will leave you with this. Since this is a conversation about skills, there's 2 pieces of advice, if I may. Really, do your research and figure out what your vision is around skills and how you do that. Reach out to your networks, and really spend the time thinking about what skills means to your organization. And then the second piece of advice I have for you is to lean into your own learning about the future. I think that what lies ahead of us is incredibly exciting. And I view it as a time of reinvention and renewal for whatever profession you're in today. And I think if we approach this time with optimism and energy, it's going to make this new phase of the world a much better place.
I love that. I echo your enthusiasm. I think, how exciting to be at a point where we get to embrace something that you mentioned 40 years. We haven't seen a technology like this. What an exciting time to be part of this transformation. I think when it comes to skills, it's important to remember it's not an HR strategy, right? It's an enterprise strategy, and something that we really has to be part of the fabric of the entire organization, as you said. Don't just start here and not know where you're going. It has to be throughout. So I love that. And I have loved this time with you. Thank you so much for being here today, sharing your great insights, Ellyn. I just love talking to you anytime. It's fun to do you here. And thanks to everybody else for tuning in. We're looking forward to sharing more on this topic at Workday Rising, which is coming up September 26th through the 29th. You can join us digitally or in person if you'd like. We'll explore a lot more innovations and solutions there. And Accenture will have a big presence at Rising. We're delighted to say. So they'll lead several sessions there so you can continue to learn from Accenture and all their exciting work as well. So stay tuned. Next month.
Actually, I have one more word.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry because I know you were trying to wrap up, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank you and Workday for being such great partners of ours. I mean this when I say it. We would not be where we are today with our ability to create amazing experiences for our people and serve our clients and our communities if it were not for Workday. You're at the heart, very heart of our talent strategy and its execution. So thank you so much.
That is very nice to hear, Ellyn. That's high praise coming from you and from Accenture, and we feel the same way about the partnership with you. Thank you. I think make us better as well. So with that, thank you everyone for being here, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.